Someone you love is gone. The body is there, and you have no idea what to do next. You call someone. You fill out a form. You choose a casket or an urn or a plot of land. You follow a script that someone else already wrote for you. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, you wonder if you are doing this right. But here is what no one tells you. The rituals you follow today, the flowers, the black clothes, the gathering of everyone who knew them, those rituals are not modern inventions. They are not traditions from a few hundred years ago. They stretch back further than language, further than fire, further than anything you were ever taught in a history class. Your ancestors were burying their dead before they had words to describe what death even was. The oldest known burial site on Earth is in a cave in South Africa called Dinaledi. In 2015, a team led by paleoanthropologist Lee Berger discovered the bones of Homo naledi, a human ancestor from roughly 300,000 years ago, deep inside a chamber that could only be reached by crawling through passages barely wide enough for a human body. There were no predators in there, no signs of flooding or accident. The bones had been placed, deliberately, carefully, by creatures whose brains were a third the size of yours. They had not invented agriculture. They may not have had complex language, but they had already decided that death required something more than abandonment. Think about what that means. Before your ancestors built anything, before they farmed anything, before they wrote anything down, they were already performing the oldest human act there is, marking the moment when someone stops. The Neanderthals did it too. For decades, scientists argued about whether this was true. Neanderthals were often dismissed as brutish and instinctual, closer to animals than to humans. But the evidence kept arriving. At Shanidar Cave in Iraq, archaeologist Ralph Seletsky found Neanderthal skeletons buried with what appeared to be clusters of pollen, suggesting flowers had been placed in the grave. Later analysis by researchers including Eric Trinkaus suggested intentional burial was likely, though debate continued about the flowers specifically. What is not debated is that Neanderthal remains have been found arranged, positioned, and protected in ways that go far beyond what you would expect from creatures acting on instinct alone. Neanderthals disappeared from the Earth around 40,000 years ago. But before they did, they were doing something recognizable. Something that would not look entirely alien to you. Now ask yourself why. Why would a creature with limited language, no written tradition, and a daily life consumed by survival stop what was doing to place a body somewhere deliberate? One answer comes from anthropologist Thomas Lynch, who spent years studying burial patterns across different cultures and time periods. His conclusion: burial is not about the dead. It is about the living. The act of placing a body, of marking its location, of returning to that spot, creates a geography of grief. It turns an invisible loss into a visible place. Something you can point to. Something you can return to. Your brain needs that. It always has. Grief without ritual is disorienting in a way that is almost physical. Studies in modern psychology have found that structured mourning processes, what researchers call meaning-making rituals, reduce the intensity of complicated grief responses. The ritual does not erase the loss, but gives the loss a shape. And a shape is something your brain can process, hold, and eventually integrate. Your ancient ancestors did not have the science to explain this, but they had the instinct. And the instinct was right. The specifics of what they did varied enormously. Some cultures burned the dead and kept the ash. Some placed the body on a platform and let birds take what they would. Some buried grave goods, tools, ornaments, food, the things a person might need if the journey continued somewhere else. The Cro-Magnon people of ancient Europe, your direct ancestors, buried their dead with red ochre, a mineral pigment that covered the body in deep red. No one knows exactly what it meant, but it was deliberate. It was repeated across thousands of years and hundreds of sites. Whatever it signified, it mattered deeply. They were telling a story about the person who had died, and that story was for the living. Here is the counterintuitive part. The more complex a society's burial rituals, the more archaeologists can infer about its social structure. Elaborate grave goods suggest hierarchy. Shared burial sites suggest community. Ritual positioning of bodies suggests belief in something beyond what could be seen. The grave does not just preserve a body. It preserves the values of the people who dug it. And what it preserves again and again, across every culture and every era, is that the person who died mattered. That their absence is a fact worth marking. That the people left behind owe something to that marking. You feel this. You feel it even if no one taught you to. You feel it when you stand at a graveside and do not know what to say but understand, on some level below language, that you must be there. That feeling is old. That feeling predates every religion on Earth. It predates civilization. It may predate your species. Anthropologist Barbara J. King, in her book How Animals Grieve, documented something that complicates the picture further. Elephants return to the bones of their dead. They touch them with their trunks. They linger. Chimpanzees have been observed carrying the bodies of their dead infants for days, sometimes weeks, unwilling to let go. Gorillas sit with their dead. Dolphins have been observed supporting the bodies of deceased companions at the water's surface. The impulse to recognize the end, to not simply walk away, appears to extend far beyond the human. Which means the question changes. Is no longer why do humans bury their dead? It becomes why does death demand acknowledgement from so many creatures on this planet? The answer may have to do with attachment systems in the brain. The same neural circuits that drive bonding, that make you feel close to another creature, are activated by loss. The brain registers the absence of something it was wired to expect. And the dissonance between expecting and not finding creates what we recognize as grief. For some species, the response is brief. For humans, it can last a lifetime. And for humans, the ritual, the burial, the ceremony, the gathering appears to offer the brain a structured way to begin updating its model of the world. To accept slowly that the expected presence is now permanently gone. The grave is not for the dead. The grave is for the update. Homo naledi carried its dead deep into the earth because something in their ancient wiring said this loss is real and it must be marked. Neanderthals placed bodies in the ground with care because the absence of that person had weight and gravity and consequence. Cro-Magnon people painted the dead red because color and symbol were the earliest languages available to them for saying something that words could not yet hold. And tonight, somewhere on Earth, someone is choosing flowers. Someone is writing a eulogy. Someone is standing in a room with the body of a person they loved, not knowing what to say, following a ritual they inherited without knowing why. The why is 300,000 years old. The next time you sit at a funeral and wonder why you are there, why this tradition exists, why humans do this thing, know that the answer is not culture, is not religion, is not social obligation, is the oldest thing you do.